Hello, and welcome to The Tutors.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adrian.
Adrian, what would you say is the most commonly asked questions tutors are asked by students?
Aside from Adrian, are you single? Probably, can I get this paper proofread?
Yeah, every day our tutors are asked to proofread students' papers. However, proofreading isn't something we practice doing with students.
Proofreading, as many students and tutors understand it, is the equivalent to editing one's paper. Essentially, when one is expected to proofread, they are expected to find any and all errors within that paper.
These errors are including, but aren't limited to, spelling errors, grammar errors, and making sure it flows.
We tutors don't proofread papers since we're not an assignment editing service. However, that doesn't mean that we discourage students from proofreading their own papers. In fact, we highly encourage it.
While we don't proofread for students, we are aware of a few strategies that can help students feel more confident in the papers prior to them turning them in.
Proofreading tip number 1. Utilize the spell checker on your word processor.
The first thing you should do after typing anything is to make sure there aren't any colored squigglies beneath anything that you've written.
While some spell checkers automatically fix these things for you, they might not have an alternative spelling for something that you've written. If that's the case, go to whatever word is squiggled and try to remember what it is that you attempted to type. If you recall but don't know how to spell it, either look it up in a dictionary or cut and paste that word into your web browser and see if any alternative spellings come up. Proofreading tip number 2. Print your essay out and examine it in person.
Sometimes a change of scenery is all you need for errors to start popping out left and right. If you hold your paper in your hand and read it, you could possibly find more things that you couldn't see on the computer.
Computers can be very distracting, whether that be due to the lights, the internet, or other programs. So printing your paper out can be really helpful. Remember that at this point, you're only looking for mechanical errors such as spelling, comma usage, and verb tenses.
Proofreading tip number 3. Question yourself.
Ask yourself the following questions as you reread your paper. Do I have a clear thesis? Does my thesis address my prompt? Do my body paragraphs stick to their topic sentences? Does my conclusion restate my thesis and avoid including any new information?
Essentially, make sure you stayed on topic. If at any time you're unsure of your content, highlight it and address it at a later time. Once time has passed, you might be able to clarify to yourself if you were on track or not.
If you're absolutely stuck on whether your points are valid or not, get a second opinion, whether that be from a peer, your instructor, or a tutor.
Proofreading tip number 4. Leave your essay alone for one full day. After 24 hours, pick it up and read it aloud to yourself.
Waiting a day to reread your paper will be good. If you detach your focus for that 24-hour period, you'll hopefully return to it with a fresh perspective. Students often find errors that they never saw before they took that 24-hour break.
As for reading it out loud, it's possible to notice things you might not catch if you were just simply reading it to yourself. When you hear things out loud, you might question yourself and wonder if things sound good. Hearing your paper is very beneficial.
Proofreading tip number 5. Read your paper aloud, sentence by sentence, but from the end to the beginning.
If you read your paper backwards, starting from the final sentence and ending with the first one, your paper will look totally different.
This is useful because it will make you look closer at each individual sentence. Perhaps you spelled something wrong or used an improper verb tense. Reading your paper backwards will help you find more of your mechanical errors. Proofreading tip number 6. Have someone else look at your paper.
While not every person you know will be qualified or knowledgeable enough on collegiate writing or the English language, it can be helpful to have someone else read your paper and get their feedback.
It's possible that this new person can find a spelling error or two, let you know when things don't make sense, and shed some new light on some aspect of your paper.
When having someone look over your paper, ask them to make sure your content is all coherent and on topic.
Like we said before, not everyone you ask to read your paper will be much help. Ask someone who you know has a good understanding of how to write well, whether that be your smart friend, your instructor when they're having free time, or a tutor.
But remember that if you see a tutor, you won't get your entire paper proofread. However, we can help you clarify anything that you're unsure of and help you build a better understanding of how to write papers.
Proofreading tip number 7. After you have completed the previous 6 steps, go through this cycle one final time. Hopefully you will be able to find any leftover errors and correct them, thus solidifying your confidence in your paper.
Remember that proofreading is very important. You should always try and leave yourself at least 1, if not more, days to proof your paper one last time.
And don't forget that if you're truly stuck on one particular part of the proofreading process, whether that be identifying common mistakes or making sure your thesis is consistent throughout your entire paper, don't be afraid to come in and see a tutor in person.
If you seek further support, check out the links we've posted below.